You are absolutely right, Eric and Debbie. A major announcement coming from Al Sharpton tonight saying that he's going to set up a national office right here in Indianapolis. He said the merit board failed to do the right thing in not firing Officer Pyland. In Al Sharpton's words, this is not over. For the second time this year, Reverend Al Sharpton addressed a crowd gathered inside Eastern Star Church. Sharpton comes to Indianapolis on the heels of Indy's Merit Board's decision to reinstate IMPD officer Jerry Pyland. Officer Pyland was blamed for causing these injuries to Brandon Johnson May 15th.
Now there are those now that want to have unity, but you can't have unity without accountability.
This summer, Sharpton visited Indianapolis to challenge the city's mayor and top brass to do the right thing. Sharpton called the beating incident injustice and asked for all the officers involved to be fired.
The main reason that I came tonight is I promised Brandon that no matter what happened, I would be back to stand with him no matter what happened.
James Caldwell heard Sharpton's message in July. Caldwell says he returned to see him because something has to be done.
I think they need a house cleaning down there in the police department down there, from the top down.
Sharpton says he plans to open an office right here in Indianapolis.
I'm going to open up a headquarters here. I'm going to work hand in glove with Dr. Clay. I don't know the mayor, don't need to know him. But I can tell him one thing, that with me hanging around town, you're going to wish you had met with Dr. Clay and the ministers.
We're not a mob. We're not a gang. We're not anti-police. And we're not racist. We are taxpayers who expect more from our police department and elected officials than what we've been getting.
And I tried tracking down Dr. Stephen Clay, who is the president of the Baptist Ministers Alliance, that organization responsible for bringing in Reverend Al Sharpton tonight. I tried calling him several times today. I even approached him in the office, and I was told that he will talk to me tomorrow morning, Karen.
Errand gone awry. Groceries in the grocery getter, and
all of a sudden,
so it begins. 73-year-old Marilyn Walker Young fought back.
Grabs my billfold. I wouldn't let go, and we're fighting back and forth. When she said, let go of this billfold, I said, hell no, I'm not going to let go of it. This is my billfold. Next thing she said, if you don't let go, I'll shoot you. And I said, go ahead.
Shiner on her chin, bleeding. She knew the young female perp couldn't shoot. They were warring for the billfold. The perp got it and jetted.
I stumbled into Marsh. Nobody even blinked an eye.
She says workers paid her no mind, but someone did.
I hope the young lady that helped me sees this.
Says a striking young mother called 911. Marilyn's son later stormed to Marsh for answers. There's now an armed guard there. Miss Walker Young, a grandmother with a fine home, has fought back for years. 35 years ago, as a young realtor at a showing, she was attacked from behind.
I turned around and I kneed him.
Right in the...
It's loaded.
That's when she bought a gun.
I think we ought to be able to be allowed to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our home.
And bang, that $1 million smile. The gun didn't come into play because, frankly, she never thought 7:30 a.m. Nora. It's one of 3 recent attacks. Fighting is in her blood. She's an O'Neill by birth.
We were excommunicated from the Catholic Church because my grandfather knocked a priest down.
As for the robber?
If I thought she needed the money, I would have given her the money. You know, all you have to do is say, I need help.
And then she thanked us.
This is a little embarrassing, but I am so grateful to you two.
Oh, stop. We said shucks. Then she said, because the story needs to be told.
To let older people know that they're in danger.
They line the street, light candles, hold signs to remember. Some cry, others hold each other, just as they did that day in this same spot.
There are two different justice systems here in Indiana. One for the privileged and the other for everybody else.
George Burtz survived the accident and tried to save the life of his friend Eric Wells. Although angry a police officer killed his friend, Burtz spent Tuesday at the funeral for the Greenfield police officer killed along the road.
Those two other officers that watched their brother get hit and killed, I felt the same thing.
Survivor's guilt?
The survivor's guilt. I live with it every day.
As the survivor, he stands watch every week at this site, his way to cope.
I'm here every Friday. I'm here from 11 to about 11:45, the time of the crash.
Then a poem by Eric's little brother, read by Mom.
You've given me friendship in times I've felt alone. You've given me a big brother, the best the world has known. Eric, I miss you and love you so much. I hope you know that. I hope you've always known that. Your little brother.
A moment of silence.
Remember, Eric, keep him in your prayers and thoughts.
Please also remember Mary and Kurt.
And George, you all have given us a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of hope. We are committed to getting some laws changed and making sure that everybody has the same justice.
They ended as one, singing Amazing Grace.
To Eric! To Eric! Never to be forgotten and always in our hearts.
With the words surrounding her, they were quiet moments for Eric's wife, Louisa. There were also hugs of support and tough moments for his parents, kneeling at the very site where they lost their son.
And Eric Wells' family, look at them. They shouldn't have to come here to remember their son.
They are the faces of people murdered and missing across Indiana. Now on Indiana Department of Corrections playing cards.
If you're playing cards in prison, you're looking at these cards.
Each victim on the cards features information about their case and the crime. The cards will soon be distributed to Indiana prisoners in the hopes of getting them to talk.
He may know of something, one small clue, that might provide a way for law enforcement to solve a crime.
The 6 and 7 of spades feature the murders of Blake and China Dickus of Franklin. Both were killed in their home in 2006. Their case remains unsolved. The 9 of diamonds is the case of Joyce Parham of Indianapolis.
For her to have a place on a diamond card, you know, that means the world to me because I know that it's a mark.
Parham was found in her East Side home in 2007 after a fire. An autopsy confirmed the fire didn't kill her.
To find closure would be peace.
Audrey Wilcox talked to me about her mother's murder. Wilcox believes there's still hope finding the killer. When you see that your mother's picture is on one of these playing cards that will go to the prisons, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it is an effective tool to be able to say, you know, we haven't given up yet.
DOC officials are hoping the 51 other families will feel the same. They are hoping someone with the right hand comes forward with information.
Even if it doesn't immediately solve a crime, it's important for us, I think, that the families of these victims know that law enforcement still cares.
9-year-old Caitlin Bowser has a ways to go before she's cured of the flu and pneumonia.
I don't feel that well, but I'm feeling much better.
Caitlin spiked a fever last week after her brother became ill. He recovered, but she suffered with a headache, body pains, and a sore hip. By Monday, she had developed pneumonia and was admitted to St. Francis Hospital.
She was almost delusional because she came out of her room once and said she felt like she was floating, and she didn't understand why she felt that way and wanted me to make it stop, and she couldn't stand up.
Now the attention is on her white blood cell count.
It doesn't seem to be getting better, and she's having problems with her white blood count dropping instead of staying the same or going up.
She's being treated fairly aggressively because her white blood cell count is dropping. She's being treated with 3 different antibiotics, Zithromax, vancomycin, and Rocephin.
If her cell count starts to improve, Caitlin will probably be released. But going back to school might be a ways off Until then, her mother, who was once skeptical of H1N1, is urging others to get the vaccine.
I really thought it's no big deal. They're just trying to scare people. It'll be over soon, but I certainly don't feel that way now.
Before we could even visit with 9-year-old Caitlin Bowser, my photographer DeAndre Taylor and I had to put on a gown, mask, and use a hand sanitizer. Caitlin was sitting up in her bed playing cards when we arrived. Her mother says she's improved since Monday when her fever spiked at 104 degrees and she had become delusional. She came down with what appears to be H1N1 last week when her brother became ill. He recovered, she didn't, and her symptoms just got worse.
Headache, dizzy, upset stomach, body ache. She really complained about her hips. And then she started coughing on Saturday. It was treatable, treated it with over-the-counter meds. It was fine. Sunday was a little worse. Monday I called the doctor and said, she's getting worse, I need her seen. And they listened to her lungs and said that she had developed pneumonia.
Caitlin's white blood cell count is what is worrying her nurse now. It keeps dropping. She's taking her medicines intravenously.
She's being treated with 3 different antibiotics, Zithromax, vancomycin, and Rocephin.
More blood work is scheduled for tomorrow, and when she's released to go home, it might be a few more days before she's back to Beech Grove Intermediate School.
He once caught an all-American portrait, Private Mitch Hunter, 82nd Airborne. Then, late 2001, Thomasville, North Carolina, it all changed in a zap.
I wasn't going to make it through the night.
Passenger in a truck that hit a pole. He pushed a young lady off a dancing hot electrical line and took 10,000 volts, 7 amps for maybe 5 minutes.
If I was to wake up, I'd be deaf, blind, dumb, or all 3.
The jolt entered and incinerated his leg, pierced his hand, blew out at several other points, his shoulder. Prosthetic pieces that aren't originally of Mitch Hunter now are.
But yes, this is a prosthetic and it does come off. And it's held on by an adhesive that I had to order from Hollywood, California. It's the same adhesive that you would use for like props in a movie.
For years, it was a life of looks, little kids hiding behind mom's legs.
I just don't want them to think that I'm like the boogeyman or something, you know, and that's sometimes what they probably think. It's like, you know, oh, this guy's probably like the boogeyman or something. I mean, I kind of look like one, so. 2001 to 2005.
You basically stayed inside?
Yes.
He's now in touch with a doctor in Boston. He's soon to visit his prospects of a new face.
It's a historical procedure. I mean, there's only been 3 done in the U.S., and I would like to be a part of that.
It would be grueling, but he says at 29, he's ready and finally comfortable with him.
You're to the point now where when you look in the mirror, you see yourself.
Yes. It took roughly 6-7 years for it to be like that.
He's got a good life now, good gig with Amazon.com, a baby, 3-month-old Clayton.
This is my little miracle, to be honest.
Science saved his life in 2001. He's now calling on science again.
3 months old.